What is up, artists and movers, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Galen Larice if you are new here, and if you are an OG, then you know that I like talking about dance and all dance related things. But I do think it's important to insert some creative play into your life, especially if you're going to be making dancing your job. You gotta find some other ways to get creative. So I've been personally getting my creative juices flowing recently by doing some DIY projects around my apartment. And I've been sharing them with you guys on my Instagram and on my new DIY TikTok account. So if you're into DIYs and you're into TikTok, then go ahead and follow me on there, because that's kind of where I share some of the things that I've done before and some of the DIYs that I may not be sharing in these videos. But I figured why not share some of them with you guys here on this channel. So I'm gonna actually be going through and redoing all of the rooms in my small LA apartment. I know that not everyone who moves to LA gets a ginormous and luxury apartment. Some of us have just like, you know, regular schmegular apartment. So I'm gonna show you guys how I'm going to make over mine, and that's gonna involve a lot of DIY projects too. So a lot of new fun content coming on the channel, and if you wanna keep up with that, then I suggest you go ahead and subscribe. So today, the first room that I'm gonna really be paying attention to is my dance space. And this is where I do my stretch videos that you guys may have seen, and this is also where I just enjoy dancing. But it could use a sprucing up, and so I'm gonna be doing some DIY projects that are gonna go in that room. But first, let's take a look at the space. So this is the space. You guys have seen this little area in my videos before, but specifically when I do stretch videos. So when I do stretch videos, I'm recording here and I can see myself in the mirrors here. So it's been really cool just having this little like dance space, but I wanna redo the set area first, because right now this wall is just starting to like accumulate things, and I wanna start eliminating those and actually making this look like a cute little spot. I'm thinking I want a piece of artwork to go here, and I also want to do something over here to cover up this ugly thing. So I'm thinking of doing a shelf over here and like somehow having the shelf cover that. So I think I know what DIYs I'm gonna do in this space. They're gonna be very minimal and simple, because I do wanna have space in the room to dance, but I think I know what I'm gonna do. So let's go shopping. Comfortable, because I just fell in love with that couch, and it's like the perfect color too. So for this first DIY, I'm going to be making a canvas piece that's going to be going up on the wall. I wanted to just add some art to the space in general, and I was really inspired by this image. I just loved its simplicity, and it's just in the vein of like modern-ish art that I like, but I wanted to kind of elevate it a little bit by making it three-dimensional. So I decided I would get some fabric, but instead of going to the fabric store and trying to determine how many yards I would need, I just went ahead and bought these inexpensive sheets from, I believe, either Home Goods or Marshalls, and that's gonna give me more than enough fabric to do this project. First, I'm taking these wooden painting panels and I'm using wood glue to combine them into one larger rectangle shape. I found that using a combination of wood glue and using a staple gun helped me to kind of secure the wooden panels in place while they were curing. Once they're done drying, I'm going to take the regular sheet from the pack and drape it over the wooden frame and cut the cloth down to size. Then after flipping it over, I'm going to staple the cloth to the back of the board. As I'm doing this, I do the sides across each other first so that I can pull the cloth tight and avoid any wrinkles, and then that kind of smooths it out enough for me to pull the opposite two sides and staple those as well. And then I simply cut off the excess fabric. Now it's time for these shapes. I'm using this insulation type of foam board. My roommate actually used these as bounce boards for lighting, so if you're into like tech and stuff, you can definitely use it for that. I used one of them and first started ripping off the shiny back, the kind of foil back that's on it, and then I used a Sharpie to draw out the shapes from the original image. And then I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut out the shapes. Now, I will warn you guys that the foam from these foam boards can like start to just get everywhere and it looks like a little blizzard inside. So I would highly suggest that you either lay something down before you do this, like craft plastic that you can lay down, or even garbage bags. Sometimes I'll cut the sides of garbage bags and lay those down just so that the cleanup is easier, because it is gonna make a mess. Once all the pieces are cut out, it's time to wrap them in fabric. So using the fabric that's remaining from the bed sheet that I had before, I'm covering each foam shape in the fabric and securing it with hot glue. This hot glue, I've seen Lone Fox, who does a lot of DIYs here on YouTube, I've seen him use this one and he really recommends the Gorilla Glue hot glue, and I second that. It's much better than like regular hot glue and it keeps things in place longer so it doesn't shift around while you work. And now it's time to paint our little pieces. First, I mixed regular black acrylic paint with enough water to thin it out to a more runny consistency. The mixture should self-level fairly quickly after running your brush through it. So this will help it really sink into the fabric a bit better and won't leave these large clumps that'll be visible of like paint clumps when you take a step back and look at it. Once the pieces are finished drying, then I just go ahead and arrange the pieces in the configuration that I want them to look for the final product. Make sure you really take your time doing this, because once you glue it down, it's not coming back up. And this is the final look. I love the way this piece of art looks when the sun hits it. It creates these shadows, and I think adding that dimensional feel to it was a really, really great idea, especially in such a small space. So for my second DIY project, since these DIYs are going in my dance and stretch space, I wanted to create something to make my speaker kind of a focal point in the room. So I'm going to be creating a speaker stand for the speaker that I got off of Amazon for really inexpensive. Honestly, it's a really decent speaker for the price that I paid for it, and it changes lights, which is also kind of cool. I'm going to be decorating this space and my living room with a modern rustic feel, and so I wanted the speaker stand that I'm making to fit into that rustic aesthetic. I found these stick bundles at Hobby Lobby for like 10 bucks, and from there I knew exactly what I was going to use them for. I also picked up one of these tree rounds at Michael's. You want to pick one that gives you about 3 inches of space around the circumference of your speaker. Then I'm just placing the sticks on the tree round around the perimeter of the speaker until it creates the shape that I'm looking for. As I'm doing this, I'm moving around it so I can kind of see it from each different angle and make sure that it's gonna look right from the front, even though I'm placing them from behind. So you kind of want to like jump in front, jump behind, and make sure it looks good from all angles, because none of these sticks are going to be perfectly straight. They're going to have a little bend to them. Now, you could just leave it like that, but I wanted to kind of clean it up just a little bit, make it look a little bit more seamless. So I'm using this air dry clay, and I'm just using it to create a band around the bottom where the sticks and the tree round meet. And then after setting the clay in place, I wet my fingertips to really smooth it out so that there aren't any distracting lumps or cracks in the clay. After the clay dries, you may want to take a look back at it and just make sure it didn't dry with any cracks. And if it did, then just go in and fill those and kind of smooth it out to make it look like it's nice and finished and smooth. Now that that's drying, I want to go ahead and create a shelf that I can put this little speaker stand on. But the main reason why I want to make it is so I can cover up this ugly thermostat. It's just super big and chunky on the wall. And so the purpose of this shelf, yes, is to put things on, but it's really just to cover up this ugly box. I found this unfinished shelf piece at Hobby Lobby for $15.99, and so I decided to use that. And first I was gonna give it a sand though, because it is unfinished and it's really rough. Now, if I were to do this again, I would use something a little bit grittier, like a 200 or a 150 sandpaper. What I happened to have at home was more for like just finishing sanding, and so it took me a long time to kind of get everything smooth. So if I were to do it again, I would use something grittier first and then use something to just kind of buff it afterward to really smooth it out. But I think with the paint that I used, it ended up looking fine anyway. And here I'm just using some wood filler to fill in any cracks in the wood or nail holes that'll distract from the rectangular shape of the shelf. Once the wood filler is dry, then it's time to paint. So I am using the color Basic Khaki from the Behr Dynasty collection. Just ask them for the smallest size that they can possibly give you of paint. Because in my head, when I think buying paint at Home Depot, I think the whole can. Just ask them for a small little, I believe it's like 8-ounce cup. That's totally enough just to paint a shelf. The shelf was going to need to be able to hold a lot of weight, so I ended up painting these metal brackets with the same paint color, so they were somewhat hidden when I finally installed them on the wall. I picked this color because it was similar to the wall color, but it was a little bit cooler, and I just didn't want the wall to look, I didn't want it to be the exact same color as the wall. It's like slightly a shade darker, which I like. And to top it off, I placed some books and my speaker DIY on the shelf as well for the final look. That is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed these 3 super minimal DIY projects that you can use to spruce up your own dance space or any kind of calming space that you have in your home. I love the dimension on this art piece and the shadows it creates when the light comes in on the wall, and the look of the speaker stand in the room in the dark with the lights on the speaker is such a little vibe. I can't wait to finish this space and see how it fully comes together when I complete this whole dance space makeover. In the meantime, the next room that I'm going to be tackling is my soon-to-be office. So I'm gonna be turning the other bedroom in my apartment into an office space. We're gonna be doing more art DIYs, more things to kind of help you slightly level up the space and give it your own creative little panache, you know what I'm saying? So more DIYs coming and room makeovers soon to be coming. So go ahead and subscribe and go ahead and follow my DIY TikTok if you haven't already and if you're into that sort of thing. I'll see you guys in my next video next weekend. Later.